was quite an introduction. Yes, I do run, so I had nothing to be scared about. Although Richard said that runners are not scary people. So at the outset, I'd like to thank IDA and the sponsors Nippon Paints for this invitation. Over the years, IDA has created a really vibrant platform for the exchange of ideas of architecture and design. And it's also a great opportunity to meet with the younger generation of architects and students and share my experiences of the profession. I was quite thrilled to hear about the fact that the winners of awards go to the Graduate School of Design at Harvard. And I'm very proud of that because I'm an alma mater of Harvard. I graduated from there, and people go to the Career Discovery Program, and I actually taught at the Career Discovery Program after I graduated from Harvard. So there's a kind of a close connect for some, strange reason. But, this is how things kind of tie together in life. So you never know. It brought back memories of, my teaching there. I've structured my talk into 4 parts. Firstly, I'll discuss some historical issues that affect the shaping of our built environment today. Secondly, I'll discuss the design strategies that our studio has been concerned with over the years through 5 built projects of varying program and scale. Thirdly, I'll articulate the larger issues that concern our practice in today's complex urban environment. And lastly, I will end with some personal reflections on practicing architecture for over 30 years. So for much of the 20th century, architecture was under the spell of the famous doctrine, form follows function. This became modernity's ambitious manifesto as it liberated architecture from the decorative towards utilitarian rigor and restrained purpose. But I think we've outlived this doctrine, which is too simplistic in today's complex environment. I would like to propose a rephrasing of this famous doctrine to form follows fiction. If form follows fiction, we could think of architecture and the built environment as stories. Stories of the people that live there and work there. Then we can start to imagine the experience that our buildings create for the users. Today, we live in a society based on data, information technology, and artificial intelligence. As these became the domain of computers, society will place new value on the one human ability that can't be automated. That human ability is emotion. Imagination, myth, ritual make up the language of emotion. Building and spaces will need to thrive and connect with their users on the basis of their stories and the emotions that they can generate. The question that we need to ask is, how can we generate an architecture that goes beyond the pragmatics of program and site? An architecture that creates relationships and narratives with its occupants. How can the fictive stories of the inhabitants script the architecture, while architecture scripts those stories at the same time? I like to call this narrative hybrids. Architecture that is composed of multiple simultaneous stories that unfold throughout the buildings that we create. Our buildings have to tell a story, and the building that has the best story wins. What's your story? I think of architecture as highly process-driven. At its core is a deep structural thinking of how we respond to program and site. However, that's only part of the process. More important is creating spaces in an experiential way where architecture unfolds itself as a system of relationship between the occupants and the built environment. This relationship exists both in an experiential way and an emotive way. Through my experience as an architect practicing in India, I believe that this relationship is created primarily through non-programmed spaces, which I like to call hybrid space, where the occupant appropriates the space to tell his or her own story. We have attempted to focus significantly on these non-programmed spaces in all our projects. These non-programmed spaces get appropriated by the end users and gives the building their own story. What I'm presenting today is a journey through 5 projects which are presented in a chronological order. These projects vary in terms of program, site, scale, and these projects represent a humble attempt to articulate the issues that concern the practice. So the first project is a very, very small residential apartment building in the heart of Mumbai. And it's a very tight site, and it talks about how do you really respond to a strong kind of an urban context in a tight neighborhood. It's a preserved neighborhood. So it's on this main road in Mumbai, dense fabric. You can see the kind of figure ground, and what you see in red is actually the building that we've designed. It's for multiple families coming together and staying in this kind of tight urban context. So it's this thing. There's a main road which is kind of busy right through the year, right through the day, and we've tried to respond at one end to this kind of strong kind of road which has a certain sense of discipline, and the back of the project which has more private spaces and which has more kind of a fluid approach to it and things like that. So that's the kind of section through the building where we actually have got tenant apartments at the lower levels, parking in the basement and the ground floor, and then at the upper 3 levels is the owner's family that stays together, and that's kind of tied together by this courtyard. And then there's a roof which we've really used because it's a tight urban site, which is a community space where everything kind of comes together, and the roof is treated like a pavilion with a pool and community spaces. So that's what and this just taught us the reality of working in a tight kind of an urban context of Mumbai. So that's the kind of plan. So you can see here, the attempt being that, the front of the building is really kind of a very disciplined, facade, which has got kind of narrow openings, which kind of really respects the street. It talks about being a good neighbor. It talks about a certain sense of discipline, kind of gelling in with the neighbors. And while the rear is a kind of a very fluid kind of facade, which has larger windows, has more privacy, and it opens out and things like that. So that's the kind of plan of the building and the section through which, we've kind of talked about it. And that's the building, actually. So, the front facade is a very kind of a disciplined facade. It's got a stone cladding, which is, it's called Malad stone, which is a stone which belongs to Mumbai and things like that. It's quarried just outside of Mumbai, so it's very, very local and things like that. And, the owners actually, were quite proud that this building, talks about, kind of recreates this kind of, the old Mumbai building facade. So that's the, this things, narrow balconies, step-out balconies, again, responding to the street edge and things like that, and, and the roof pavilion up on top. And, we get into projects with graphics, and so Vasant Vilas means spring, actually. So Vasant is spring in Indian, and Vilas is house, so it's a spring, it talks about spring, so, that's how we kind of, even the motif, and then that motif is kind of, goes right through the building and things like that. So that's the stone that you can see here. And that's the rear facade, which has got a more kind of a fluid expression with the community terrace up on top. You can see how dense the fabric is and how we've kind of inserted this kind of, small building within this kind of context to really create a small oasis for the owners and things like that. And this is the reality of building and working in dense, I would say, countries like India, most cities in India tend to be dense because land is always precious. So that's what we've attempted to do. So that's the kind of rear facade. And again, the front facade talks about a load-bearing structure, disciplined windows, while the rear is a more fluid. So the whole idea of working with brick and concrete, part of it is, my whole experience of being at the School of Architecture, Ahmedabad, where we've learnt about Louis Kahn, where Louis Kahn talked about, concrete and brick, and what does the brick tell you to do, what does the, concrete tell you to do, and that's what is a kind of an expression of that. Some interior shots. Again, tight this thing, the way views are framed. This is the view of, Mumbai through the urban fabric, looking at the sea and Nariman Point beyond and things like that. And, how kind of light comes in through these narrow slits into the spaces. That's the courtyard, actually. Again, the outside has been continued inside, and we actually have the stone wall that kind of, really kind of anchors the entire courtyard together. And this courtyard connects the 3 levels which the owners use. So they wanted it to feel, like a traditional Indian courtyard and things like that, but interpreted in a contemporary manner. So that's the courtyard again that kind of connects all the 3 spaces. And that's the top of the courtyard, with light coming in from the north. And as you can see, these are all openable windows. So, you also works as a kind of a ventilation core and stuff like that. So, the primary spaces are not fully conditioned and things like that. They're naturally ventilated spaces. It gets light and ventilation through it and things like that. That's the community space right on top. It's a lounge that kind of comes together. And that's the top area, which has got a small pool, again, looking over the city, and the lounge looking over that and things like that. And that's the view from the pool looking at the city, enjoying the big city of Mumbai and things like that. So that's the first project. I'm going to jump to another project, and this is what India is all about. You get a lot of diversity, you get small projects to work on, you get big projects to work on. This is a campus that we did for a large multinational. It's called Unilever. So this is the headquarters of Hindustan Unilever, the Indian version of Unilever, in Mumbai, on the outskirts of Mumbai. As you can see from the sketch, and this talks a little bit about the design process that we really typically follow. And it's about a 12-acre site, large program. They wanted to shift the entire Indian headquarters here. They were located in multiple cities, multiple locations, and they wanted to consolidate this into one campus. So it's got a small hotel for self-use and a training center. It's got a recreational facilities, and it's got offices, laboratories, etc. It's a very diverse kind of a program, and it faces the kind of main highway that you can see here. It's a Western Express Highway, very close to the Mumbai airport. Some of you may have traveled across this building, and it's got a major access road which runs kind of, east-west, and the highway runs along north-south that you can see on my left. So a lot of existing trees at site which we wanted to kind of retain and stuff like that. Again, so that's the kind of plan that we really developed, try to retain all the trees. And typically the attitude when you do an corporate office building is to really kind of do a big box building. And we actually did the exact opposite. We said that let's break up the program into smaller components. And as you can see, it was inspired by, keeping the spaces narrow so that natural light comes in. Sustainability has become a big concern for us. And, and there's a street that really kind of connects things together. So all these trees that you see are all existing trees, and we kind of weave the building, around those trees and things like that. So that's the kind of master plan of the campus and things like that. And that's the plan, actually. So it's got this kind of rotunda through which you enter, which is really the reception. And what they said is that they wanted everybody to come in through a central space as a kind of all occupants, people who work there, visitors, etc., and then you actually traverse through the street and go to your individual offices. The idea was not to go to the basement where the parking is located and go straight to your offices. The idea is that you kind of walk through the street, chance encounters, you meet with people, you meet with your colleagues, etc. And that's what the whole intent of the street was, that kind of a thing. So, and what you can see on one side are the offices. On the other side, where you see these narrow bars, which are like fingers, are actually, laboratories and things like that with, kind of this thing. Again, it's, oriented in a very distinct manner, north-south kind of a thing, where north light comes in. So that's the kind of street. So we conceptualized the street as a kind of a innovation and a product development center. So, the street is actually got on the ground floor, various, these are all brands of the, there's a food company, they make soups, they make ice creams, etc. So it's got Lakme is their company. So the idea really was to have, a kind of a very vibrant kind of a street. And then, the ground floor is all the public areas, and the upper levels have the offices, laboratories, and the private spaces and things like that. So that's what the intent is, actually. So that's the building which is complete. That's the south facade. It's got a kind of a double skin which kind of takes the noise, and the south facade has got a protected double skin. And these are motifs that we've used here, which is ceramic frit glass, which is motifs of the Unilever logo, which has got these kind of elements like the fish, the trees, flowers, etc., etc. And these are the existing trees. So courtyards have been carved out so that the building can be retained and allows light to come in. That's the kind of, the facade which you see, again, clad in natural stone and things like that. We like to work with stone a lot and things like that. And that's the south facade. That's the reception as you enter in. So it's a rotunda. So you come in through there, which leads to the street. And up on top are all the conference rooms, the meeting rooms, and things like that. So, again, we avoided any conference rooms in the main space so that everybody kind of literally comes out into these, into the rotunda space. So you kind of traverse the street constantly. So you come in from the basement onto this rotunda, and then you walk through the street to your offices and things like that. So nobody kind of goes directly to their offices. So that's the central rotunda with kind of light pouring in. And that's the street, actually. So you have a street which is, on one side are the offices, the other side are the laboratories, and then you've got this kind of spaces that kind of open out, which are called brand verandas, small verandas that kind of open out onto the street and things like that. And we use motifs on the ground floor, which is inspired by the Rangoli Diwali pattern. People have a tendency here to paint with powder, chalk powder, there outside, like a design outside the house, as a welcome. And that's what we've really done, except that this time it's in a permanent material like stone. So that's the street, actually. So you can see the street, there's a vibrancy to it, and there are bridges that kind of connect this entire street. So the street really becomes the kind of heart of the campus. It's a public space, and the idea is that at the upper levels, things kind of open out onto the street and look out onto this thing. So it's really literally like a street. It's kind of works together. So that's what this project is all about. And you have punches of light coming in. And that's a view of the, so you have the elevator course that go up, and these are these various, verandas that open out onto the streets. That's a breakout space. People come out, a fair amount of communication, etc. happens and things like that. And what we've really got, it's a very noisy kind of area because of the highway. So at the end, what you can see on the left-hand side is a large water wall, which kind of allows the kind of, water drops down, creates a little bit of noise. What happens then is that it creates a certain kind of calmness for the entire street. It creates an ambiance which is very, very nice and soothing, water and the kind of and the noise that it creates. So that's the water wall once again. And again, you have these verandas that open out onto the space. And again, these are some internal connections, staircases that connect through, and you can see the skylight that brings light in. So even deep into the office space, light that comes in and things like that. So that's very, very important for us, that light coming in from all kind of possible sources and things like that is critical. The bridge that connects it, so these bridges, kind of really connect various spaces through and things like that, and, create a kind of a certain. A very different project. Again, the challenges of working in India, very different project. This is a girls' school that we've done in Gandhinagar, which is, outside Ahmedabad. It's a, traditional girls' school for 600 girls. It's a residential campus again. So what we've done here is, there's certain themes that kind of carry on through in our projects and things like that. So this is a low-rise network of buildings. It's, it's not a high-end project. It's meant for the middle-income group and things like that. And, we've really, again, got these kind of central street that kind of connects this campus together. It's an open-air street, and then it's got these kind of various kind of elements of program that are kind of, off the street. So we've got a clear kind of division between, the three kind of layers. So the first one is the public layer, which is actually the school and the academic block. Then you come to the kind of, social block, which has got the dining, the sports facilities, activity rooms. And the last layer is really the residential zone, which is actually got the rooms, prayer hall, etc., etc. So that's what this project is all about. So this is what it is. So it's got a kind of, linear street with kind of, things going off the linear street, and the program kind of divides itself. Again, avoiding the kind of big box formula and, getting into really breaking up the program into much, much smaller components. So that's the kind of, scale of the building. They're all low-rise buildings, ground plus 2, ground plus 3, and the different programs. So what you can see from left to right is a reception block coming together, and that's the, the administration block, the school. The two kind of this thing with the circular windows is the dining hall and the sports hall, and then the last 3 blocks that you see are actually the residential hostel blocks which the students stay in. So it's there are no day scholars here. It's a residential school that is there. So that's the language again. Ahmedabad, again, it's a little bit of an ode that we pay to Louis Kahn, and the institutional campuses that he's designed there. So that's the kind of street. Again, bridges that connect different components. That seems to be some kind of a subconscious theme running around in our projects and things like that. So that's the kind of character. These are, again, open to sky spaces that connect things, and we've kind of retained all the trees and things like that right through. So that's the street. So these are all existing trees that have been built into the central street. So again, the street is used for various activities that go through. Again, large trees, kind of really calibrated into the street itself. And these different components are treated more like houses of the street where you kind of enter in and stuff like that. So again, the idea was to break up the institution into relatable components. I mean, that's what the intent was, actually. So again, how do you give meaning to the program? So the idea was to not create something which is very monolithic and institutional, and to break it up, where these girls, they come in at the age of 6, 7, and they are there till about 15. It's a high school, from middle school to high school, and they feel at home kind of a thing. This is a home away from home for them. So that's what we've intended to really create and things like that. And, you can see the street used for, assembly, some classes and things like that, that kind of a thing. So, and there's a lower kind of veranda, again, that kind of connects all the spaces together to keep you away from the rain and the sun and things like that when it's very, very hot. Ahmedabad has extreme climate, so that veranda kind of connects the entire space together. So that's the veranda, and that's the, some of the buildings. And again, we've used this motif, which is the, this thing which are, with these jalis. These are jalis made out of glass reinforced concrete, running through the veranda space. Again, the idea of different scales. You have a tight scale, which is kind of pushes movement through, and then you have the street, which opens out onto a much larger kind of a gesture and things like that. Again, sustainability becomes a very, very large component. So what you really see through here is a veranda through which you enter. This is the dining hall. On the other side is the sports hall. So what you see, these kind of, these are actually vertical chimneys, which actually take the hot air out through them and, take it out onto the roof. And, and through these veranda doors, when they're opened up, cool air comes in. So, the hot air, rises up and is kind of pulled out through the roof. And that becomes a kind, again, these are all non-conditioned spaces. None of these spaces are air-conditioned. So you can see that's the language that we've really followed of these chimneys, which is a vertical stacked chimney, which takes the air out. And the veranda gives a kind of a transition space and, allows you your shading and things like that. So that's the school block again, that what you can see again, a very strong sense of orientation. That's the south, which gets a lot of sunlight coming in, and the classrooms actually face the north, which get a lot of natural light coming through and things like that. So that's what we've really done. So that's the kind of, you can see the quality of the veranda that goes through. Again, none of this is plastered. It's all natural concrete. Again, there's a certain kind of rawness that we like about projects and things like that in this middle income project. That's the veranda that you can see through with the light coming on the south, and the north, which is where the classrooms are located, has completely glare-free light. So the play of sun through these kind of motifs and things like that. It's a religious school, so you can see the, some of the monks who, they run this school and things like that. And I just want to talk about a little bit of this motif. So this belongs to a particular sect, and they use a motif of the U kind of thing. And we actually took that motif and developed it into a screen which runs right through the building and things like that. What is nice about this is that one of the things is that you notice is that because it belongs to a religious this thing, they wanted very little color. They wanted the, a sense of kind of neutralness to the entire campus, so which is why we've used very little color, and it's all gray right through and things like that. And I like this image because it kind of juxtaposes the orange which the monks wear and the kind of gray, black, white of the building and things like that. It kind of causes an interesting this thing. The fourth project is it's a very, very small project. Again, it's a community hall. So this is, building for the community. It's for a middle-income housing project in a distant kind of suburb of Mumbai. It's for a middle-income housing. It's a community hall. And, this building is seen as creating a strong sense of, identity for the community as a public building. So this is a public building. It's a small building. It's just a ground floor structure. And, how do you really give meaning to a very, very small program like this? And even though it's modest in scale, what we did is something quite interesting. So what you see in the middle, actually, which is actually the circular thing, it's actually like a kind of small lantern, actually. And that's got a high volume space. It's a lantern, and then on either side of the so-called lantern, which is the arrival space, are the various programs that kind of come in. So on one side of it is the gym and the various active recreational facilities. On the other side are the community spaces like a hall and a gallery and things like that. And connected again right through is a kind of a veranda that kind of connects the spaces together. So that's the section of it and things like that. And again, the idea was to use large roof overhangs to kind of keep it shaded and create a sense of kind of character to the whole thing and use of screens. So that's what the building looks like. Again, large overhanging roofs, light coming through, and these kinds of, screen windows that, allow breezes to come in. Again, it's a modest building, low in cost, not air conditioned at all and things like that. So what you see are these kind of pivotable screens, actually, which allow, the breeze to kind of go through. And that's the the lantern that kind of comes in with the programs on either side, as I was explaining. So that's the entrance, which is this kind of lantern-like social space, and then on either side of it are the two functions that come through. That's the feeling of the building that you see from the other side, actually. And of course, connecting the two, is a veranda that kind of, connects through this building. So again, screens at the top, to keep the glare out and things like that. These are important things when you work in tropical climates and things like that. And the last project I'm going to talk about, again, is a very, very different program. It's a residential training center for a large corporate house, actually, called Pidilite. They make, people who are familiar in India, they make something called Fevicol, which is adhesive, actually. So it's a large, this thing. So they wanted a training center for self-use. And this is a non-urban kind of a location. This is located on the outskirts of Mumbai, in a place called Khandala. It's really in a forested 5-acre site. And, the idea was really, how do you really build in a site like this? So it's a kind of a, so it's a, it's a 5-acre site, a lot of trees, 500 trees on a 5-acre site. That's a lot of trees, and didn't want to kind of move in. And again, the idea of a spine, actually, that you can see very clearly through. So there's a spine that connects it. On one side is the training center, which has got the dining hall and the conference rooms and things like that. And on the other side, again, we like to break up the program as much as we can. So what you see are these individual blocks are the rooms, actually. And, connecting through this is a kind of, it's a very contoured site. So connecting through is this kind of, series of terraces that kind of, traverse the site, honestly speaking. So that's what really happened. So here it was more like inserting a building within the kind of forested trees. So it was literally building, this building within a forest of trees, actually. That was the intent and stuff like that. So that's what the final project looks like. So these are all, you can see the trees, existing trees, they're all kind of, centuries old. And, we've kind of retained all these trees and literally built into it and things like that. So that's the kind of context. It's got mountains around it. That's the main block, which has got the conference facilities and the dining hall and things like that. And then on the, so that's the entrance to the building coming through. The reception. And then on the other side is actually where these residential blocks are located, again, broken up into smaller components on a lush green site where these buildings are literally kind of carefully just inserted between existing trees, as you can see. So, it's just completely lush. So that's the kind of, literally the landscape just flows through between the buildings and things like that. Again, so the idea was not to have one big building like a typical hotel building with corridors on either side, but to actually, you kind of create a strong inside-outside relationship is what is critical. So that's what, so literally the kind of landscape flows through the buildings, and it's, intentionally allowed to be kind of overgrown and things like that, not very well curated and things like that. So usually kind of, it uses levels, so you go up and you have 2 rooms, and you go down, you have another 2 rooms. So it's basically just a ground plus 1 structure, typical room with a balcony opening out, you can actually see the trees and stuff. So that's the last project. So this is the kind of, So, as is evident, as you can see, this traverses from 2004 to 2023. So it's a kind of wide range of projects which we've been doing. So obviously there's no, this thing. So as is evident from the projects discussed, the practice, encompasses a wide range of projects, from small residential buildings to corporate workplaces to hospitality and institutional projects. Our clients and projects demonstrate the diversity of the practice and the complexity of working with equal care and attention on a wide range of projects. That's what, to my mind, working in India is all about. You'll get a wide range of projects. It's a large country, large needs, different people work on different things, so it's nice to have the diversity. We enjoy that. As a practice, we have never felt the need for a personal or a stylistic signature for our projects. For us, the act of weighing the diverse factors and interpreting them through a personal filter enhances the development of the built form and achieves a specific solution for each project, which we hope we've kind of managed to do that. And we hope that each project tells its own story. However, there's a common thread that ties the projects together. It is through the issues that concern our practice in the larger context of today's complex environment. We have attempted to address these issues through our projects. The first issue is realigning the global and the local. We live and work in a world in which the nuance of culture has been evened out by the fluid workings of global capital. The encounter between global production and local reception is never simple and one-sided. The architect has to actively engage in the process of shaping and reforming and interpreting. The second issue is the advent of new programs and building typologies. As an architectural practice, we have learned to develop a language to absorb and adapt these new building programs to local context and culture. And the third critical issue is sustainability. The energy consumed by our buildings and built environment has assumed significant importance for the profession. There's a need to move away from the checklist approach specified by rating agencies and focus on sustainable passive design and strategies that marry technology, data, local materials, and building traditions. I would like to end on give me a couple of minutes, on a personal note. I started running at the age of 47, when most people think of slowing down and withdrawing from serious physical activity. You can call it a midlife awakening. The broad intent was to lead a more balanced life between my professional work and my health. I've learned a lot about architecture through running regularly. Running marathons is definitely not about the competitive spirit. It's about reaching the goals you set for yourself. The same can be said about architecture. There's no such thing as winning or losing. What's important is whether your building attains the standards you have set for yourself. Similar to running marathons, the architect has a quiet inner motivation which doesn't seek validity from the outside world. Running has definitely influenced my architectural practice. These are practical, physical lessons. How much can I push myself? How much rest is appropriate? How much effort can I endure? How far can I take an idea and still keep it decent and consistent? How much should I be aware of the world outside, and how much should I focus on my inner world? These are questions I ask myself. Without running, the work would have been different. How different? Hard to say. Exerting yourself to the fullest within your individual limits, that's the essence of long-distance running and a metaphor for my architectural practice. Thank you.